Hello guys and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. Today we're doing a study. I am kind of fascinated with the concept of a study in art. I did not study art a lot as a kid or in college or anything like that. I love art as a medium for relaxation. I've just picked up watercolors and I've always been into drawing and doodling, but it was never something that I committed time to, I guess, if that makes sense. And I've recently started committing more time to creation because I'm always at my computer, and not that that's a bad thing, but when you're also a migraine sufferer and you stare at a screen for 16 hours a day, you're just doing yourself a disservice. So I've been trying to pick offline hobbies and things that feed that creative side, like The Sims does, for example. And one of the things that I love as a concept that I've known about but never really applied to life is the idea of a study. You're not painting to paint a masterpiece, or you're not crocheting to make a shawl or anything. You're doing a study of a particular technique or a particular kind of work, or you're just doing a study to practice these things you already understand or learn things you don't. And so it was kind of funny sitting down to build this house because I started working. I wanted to do, the context here is I wanted to do the walls leading immediately into the roof line, which it sort of got there. But I was getting kind of frustrated with the outside. It was not turning out the way I wanted to, and admittedly, the outside is still not quite what I want. But I kept thinking about it it doesn't have to be perfect. This is a study. I'm learning this style of house. I am working on this particular technique that I want to. And then it turned into, well, what if I worked on this other, interesting technique, and things like that, or this other interesting style that I never built. And it ended up being really therapeutic and fun, and I didn't expect it to be. The outside of the house is maybe a 6 out of 10 for me. I don't love the outside of the house. I really don't love the deck. It's not what I imagined in my head, but I didn't have a vision in my head. I had a vibe, and the kind of house that I had created didn't allow for the kind of thing I wanted to do. I wanted a full deck situation, and that's not the house that I created here, which is fine. But the outside is about a 6 out of 10. The inside I actually ended up adoring, which if you had told me that when I started, I would have laughed at you, because I was struggling with the window placement. I didn't have an idea of what the inside I wanted to be. Literally, I went into this house with just I wanted the walls to be kind of stuck out like they are. That was it. I didn't have a layout in mind. I didn't have a theme or a color, and it was so fun to just sit and do that again. I haven't done that just built for the sake of building and in a hot minute. For you guys, it's probably only been a couple of videos, but I can't tell you how many things I've scrapped in the last little while, being no, this is not perfect. And I love how this house turned out. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I completely understand that, especially the back of the house, but especially the interior. I am so proud of the interior, which I know is super self-aggrandizing, right? But I love the kitchen. Especially, I started in the kitchen, and you can kind of tell from the video that I didn't initially have a plan. Didn't, to quote Phoebe, even have a pla. But I loved the new tile, and I knew I wanted to use the new tile. I love the Mount Komorabi, what's the actual pack called? Snowy Escape. I love the Snowy Escape counters, although they are a little bit of I was gonna say I wish there was a closed version too. That is asking too much. I wish the color swatches matched consistently across the game just a little bit better, so that you can mix and match cabinets a little bit easier. Specifically countertops. It would be nice if there was 1 or 2 swatches in every countertop that we get, where it was just a simple white, a simple butcher block, and a simple black counter, so that you could mix and match counters. That was a little bit of an aside that I didn't need to go on. Originally I thought I was going to do a super industrial dark kitchen with a statement fridge. I knew I kind of wanted to do a little bit of the vintage fridge. I'm super into that right now, in case you haven't watched the 80 other videos with the vintage fridge in it. But I knew I wanted to do a vintage fridge of some kind, and I originally had wanted to do dark with a statement red fridge, and I was thinking maybe a statement red oven, something like that, and then I just didn't like it. The thing is I don't particularly like red, and I had just done an industrial kitchen, and I was not feeling it. So you can see me starting to lighten things up, and you can see I hold on to the red fridge for a while, but it ends up not sticking. And when I change, I think it's when the tile kicks in, all of a sudden I'm no wait, I get it. And after the kitchen was built, everything else kind of just started to work. It just started to make sense. It was one of those builds that really built itself, and we love that. That is the best. So I ended up trying to go really, like, I think it's contemporary is what I was trying really hard to do. Yeah, those things, side note, would not go on the fridge. They just wouldn't. They fought me. I gave up. But I was trying to go kind of minimal and contemporary. I wanted the clutter to look very intentional. I did not want the clutter to just, like, usually my aesthetic is really homey. Like, everything is just packed to the gills. You know, there's that song that I remember from being a little kid. It's like, when love is in the house is packed, so much so that the back door is cracked. And I know that song's not entirely about that, but that's what always pops into my head when I'm like cluttering the house, is like, so people just live and love here, and there's just so much memory and sentimentality and nostalgia and the clutter of daily life. And I usually try to mimic that because I love that, because that's what my house looks like. There is not a flat surface in my house that is not covered in something all of the time. Paperwork, bills, art supplies, dog things, horse things, food in preparation. Anyways, everything's always covered, and it's a house full of love, and I love that. But I wanted to be really intentional with the clutter this time, and for myself more than anything, prove that I can do intentional clutter and still have the house feel very warm and very cozy. I struggled a lot with the lights. Here's what was kind of going through my head with the lighting. It wasn't that I was trying to, like, necessarily even pick one color. It's that each color to me had, like, a whole different kitchen associated with it, and I was, like, really excited to build all of them, so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I ended up going with a statement backsplash instead of a statement light, because I didn't have something in the back that was going to work. I needed a different tile if I was going to do a statement light, I think, and I really wanted to use that tile, and I wasn't going to use the dark brown. That was not my intention, but then it's such a pretty dark brown. They killed it with those tiles. And Kayla, Little Simsy, and Deligracy suggested the matching floor tile, which I didn't use in this build, but God bless them for doing that. That's amazing, because I love this tile so much. I love it as a floor. I love it as a wall. I adore it as a wall. It is crazy how much I love it as a wall. But bless them for giving us both options, and in amazing swatches too, which I know the Sims team did that. I know that wasn't them, but, like, Sims team killed it on those swatches. The Growing Together pack killed it on swatches. Love the swatches. So this chair, this sort of flowery chair that exists for like a femtosecond in this video, actually ended up inspiring quite a bit, because I changed it to white, even though I really loved the flowers and I really do want to use that chair in a build. It really, like, I really wanted to use the brass, which is kind of funny for me, because one of the things in real life that I really, it's a take or leave for me a lot of times, is brass. I think because I associate brass with, like, 90s and, like, that pastel pink and, like, that, like, I don't even know what you'd call it, just that very dated sort of 90s, you know, brass bed, pink bedding, brass fixtures, you know, pink carpeted bathrooms. There's a little bit of trauma there, I think. I'm joking, of course. But I kind of fell in love with the brass on that chair, and I was like, how can I do, like, an aged brass in here without it looking dated? And so that was kind of one of the goals. I wanted to stick with a lot of muted browns, very soft woodsy tones. I think I got there in the end. I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I didn't want to go gray, and I didn't want the build to get too colorful. I wanted everything to be very muted and calm and soft, because I don't do that very often. I usually tend to go a little bit crazy with color because I love color. And so I just assume all of my Sims do too, but I wanted to see if I could, like, kind of limit my palette a little bit and still come up with something that I liked. And I did, and I'm really happy with it. The couch is off the wall a little bit. That is by design, because in real life, it would stress me out to have it right up against the window, and it'd probably be cold. I did stick a fireplace in. It's not necessarily the focal point. It is there for warmth. It is in this build a more practical thing. And I know there is a shelf on that fireplace, but I didn't clutter it because for some reason the realism sticks out to me there, and I always worry about whatever I put there, like lighting itself on fire, or like a plant being super unhappy, or like putting a candle there and having it melt. But so I ended up not cluttering it. I ended up just kind of leaving it. Like I said, it's a tool, not necessarily, it's a design choice, obviously, but it's a tool is what it's meant to be, which I actually have a wood stove smack in the middle of my living room, and it's supposed to be a tool, like it's supposed to be the primary heating for the house, but 2 of my family members are massively allergic to wood smoke. So the last time that thing was used was well before we moved in. And it truly functions as just like an art piece. Like, it's got plants all over it. It's got picture frames and stuff all over it. They have these things, I've seen them on Amazon, where it's like an insert, and you stick it in there, and it's like a fake flame. It's like an electric heater, like a space heater kind of thing, but it fits in there, and it's supposed to make it look like it's like on fire. And I think that'd be kind of cute. But the other thing too is, like, mine's like an old wood stove with like the big crank door. It's a huge sucker, and like, I don't think you'd actually see the fire. So then it's kind of like, what's the point? I don't really know. I kind of think eventually it might come out, because so many of my family members are allergic to smoke, and just like the 2 in my immediate family, but then there's like a bunch of my extended family who's allergic to the smoke too. So I keep thinking, like, I'm gonna find someone to trade me, like someone who wants a big old wood stove. Like, maybe I can trade someone for like some wood to build my hay shed or something. I don't know. A lot of bartering happens out here in the country. A lot of times, like, I'll put in like Wi-Fi. Like, I did someone's Wi-Fi network up for them. I didn't install, like, I didn't interface with the Comcast guy, which, you know, you can't really anyway, but like, they had their own custom router and all of their stuff, and like, they wanted me to come out and put it all together because they had extenders and things, and then I hooked up like all of their devices to the Wi-Fi, that kind of thing, because these little old people, and then their grandkids who were very young. And so the lady was like, you know, how much would you like to be paid? And like, that's not something you do out here. You don't ask, you don't ask anyone to pay you, but you especially don't ask like little elderly ladies to pay you. And so I was like, well, no, it's good. And she was like, I'm not letting you leave without paying. And I was like, what if I just got the cherries off your cherry tree? And she looked at me and I was like, I just want like a colander's worth of cherries so that I can make a cherry cobbler. So that's how I got paid. It was a little bit of an aside, but that bartering is still a very strong system out where I live now, and I'm getting used to it. Like, I'm finally getting used to it. Like, for example, I know, like, if I want someone to come do something for me, I'm gonna probably end up feeding them, right? My cousin put in well, 2 of my cousins actually came out. One put in an outlet for me, and one did the drywall for me, because my office is now in a closet. I've talked about this before. And like, I owe them a big spaghetti feed and homemade tres leches cake, and I think I owe them gork, which makes no sense to anyone but my family. It's a dessert that I'm sure has a real and honest to goodness name, but we call it gork. So like, that has to happen, which I'm fine. I'm totally fine feeding them. But yeah, the bartering system is the point I was making. How did we get here? I don't remember. Anyways, this bathroom is gorgeous. I love it. It's a lot of the new Growing Together stuff, which I'm just super in love with. Growing Together really hit like a niche of my like interior design aesthetic that I don't play with super often, because as much as I love it, it always feels like a little too fancy for me, you know? Like, I love the look of that sink. That sink is gorgeous, but like, would I ever put it in my house? Probably not, because like, it's a little fancier than like I should probably be allowed to have. Not that I don't deserve nice things, but that I'm a mess of a human and would probably break it, to be honest with you. Things have to have a little bit of durability in my house. Yeah, and then the bedroom here, I wanted a retreat. I wanted a spa-like feel, but I still wanted that minimalism, but I wanted it to be cozy. Kind of the thing I always say is, like, when you go into your bedroom, it's your space. And that's why even when I do, like, the more modern builds, I'm always like, but the bedrooms look more lived in because that's their space. Like, it's not presented to guests. So I wanted to really lean heavier into the warmer tones. It took forever to pick a bed. Because there were bedspreads I wanted, but they weren't on the right bed. Then there was beds I wanted, but they didn't have the right bedspread. It was probably a case for Cece, but I digress. I had a lot of fun trying to figure this out. I used Batu again. I know a lot of people are going to be kind of annoyed at that, because that pack gets a lot of hate. I still have not been to Batu. I have not taken a sim to Batu. I need to take a sim to Batu. But I dig the lights. They've got such a retro 70s vibe to me. I dig that when they're sized down. When they're giant, they're very industrial. But, like, they've got such a fun retro vibe to me. Like, I just dig them. I think they're so fun. So I use the hanging lamps. Like, they're going out of style, man. I love them. And then I used the Desert Luxe curtains, like I use for everything, because they're just really solid curtains. Although I must admit, I did not realize that there is really not a very good chocolate brown swatch of curtain in the game that doesn't have some like weird stripe on it or isn't like a blind. Like, there is not a good chocolate brown curtain, which is really what I needed here. This window drives me nuts. This Eco Lifestyle window that's like popped out drives me bonkers. It should have slots. I'm sorry, that window, I know, like technically it's not in the house, but it should have slots because it is a giant window seal. It is an excessively large window seal. I don't know if you can hear me like angry tapping on my desk right now. Sorry about that. But it is a very large window sill. It should have slots for plants and things. It should have like 1 medium and 2 small slots, and this is the hill that I will die on. That's all. It just, like, I put 1 plant on it. It's very annoying when it's on a foundation to try to put a plant on it because technically it's outside the foundation, so when you try to like raise it up, it's a problem. But that shouldn't be a problem because it should have slots. It should have slots. If you just heard that Discord notification, it's because I've been ignoring work notifications and now they've popped into Discord. It's fine. This is what happens when you occasionally play games with coworkers. You have a work Discord too. Anyways, because of that, I should probably go. I really hope you enjoyed this build. I'm sorry I ranted at you a little bit, but that's the hill I will die on. That window should have slots. Anyways, I really love this house. I hope you love this house. I hope it makes it into your game and that you enjoy building with it, playing with it, living in it, growing in it, and eventually remodeling it to be whatever you would like. Oh, I forgot to mention something else about it before we leave. The cutouts in the roof were intentional because I wanted those windows to look in, but I didn't, like, obviously they're popped out over the outside and that didn't make a lot of sense, and I didn't want the bathroom to have like a giant window. So I designed it with the idea of it being a storage loft. I did not test whether a sim could go up there. It wasn't necessary for the kind of house I was trying to build. I have a sneaking suspicion if you like popped the house maybe like 1 wider or popped the roof maybe like 1 higher, you might be able to get like a kid's bed up there. And you could maybe have like a kid's lofted space. Don't quote me on that. Like I said, I didn't test it. But it might be worth investigating. I just have it kind of decorated at the end as like just a little bit of like storage space, because in a house that's kind of this teeny weeny and compacted, you want that kind of storage space, especially because well, I guess this house maybe could, it's on a foundation, it maybe could have a crawl space, but you wouldn't really stick stuff in your crawl space. Like, we never really stuck stuff in our crawl space. I digress. I've gone off the rails again. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this house. I hope it fits good in your game and you get to play with it. And thank you for letting me do like a study and just like figure out, you know, this build. And yeah, like I said, 6 out of 10 on the outside, but I feel more confident to try this style again because I got to try this style once. And that's the thing I love about The Sims is, like, you know, I definitely wouldn't do this style for my house on the outside. I don't particularly love gray stucco, but I love gray stucco in The Sims, and I get to play with it in The Sims and see and goof off with it. Anyways, I'm going to keep talking for forever if I don't get off here, but I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're feeling loved, and if you're not feeling loved, please know that I love you, and I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here and hanging out, and I hope your day gets better and better and better with each passing moment. I will see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye!